Welcome to another edition of Anthony T's Horror and Wrestling Show. I'm Anthony T. In this edition, I will be talking about cons, as we're pretty much heading into con season in the New England area. And it's been a while since I talked about the do's and don'ts of going to cons. So I'm going to spend pretty much most of this episode talking about that, as I've been to cons since 2012. And I can tell you what to do, what not to do, proper con etiquette. Because for once on this podcast, and talk about proper con etiquette, as I really believe I don't see a lot of it at cons, quite frankly. And I want to talk about it because I believe everyone should have a fun time at a convention, pop culture convention. Whether it's a wrestling convention, a horror convention, or Comic-Con. So I figured I'll spend the majority of this episode talking about the do's and don'ts, as I have one segment for do's, one segment for don'ts. Then in What's Anthony T Watching, I review a film starring two of the stars of Terrifier. I'll leave you in suspense to what film that is until What's Anthony T Watching, but first the news. Starting off the news, well, we all know who gets preferential treatment on this podcast whenever a news story from his production company breaks out. So it's always me starting off the news with Jason Blum and Blumhouse Productions. As yes, they have another new news item. As there's been some news from Blumhouse Productions lately. This one is the long-awaited Spawn movie. It feels like it's been forever and a day for this film, as this has been going on for like years and years. We've heard about this film getting started again, off again, start again, off again. Now it looks like Blumhouse Productions is looking for a director for the next Spawn film entitled King Spawn. And it's going to be a dark and gritty movie, probably more grittier than the last Spawn movie, which came out in 1997. It's been literally that long since a Spawn movie has come out. Almost, 97? 30 years since the last Spawn movie, almost. And there's been a lot of start again, off again, regarding another Spawn movie. But finally we are getting it. It's going to be darker, it's going to be grittier. And I really hope that they do this right, as the script has finally been completed for this film. It's going to be written by Matt Mixon, Malcolm Spellman from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Scott Silver from Joker. Those are two very high-profile projects in the comic book world. I'm glad they went for comic book writers for this horror adaptation of Spawn, because it tells you they're probably going to go for a more darker tone. They probably know the Spawn character, and it's probably more grittier. As for the director, according to the Hollywood Reporter, the search is underway. At least we got a completed script, and one that Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, and Jason Blum have confidence in to start talking to directors with. Then after that, it will become the process of finding a studio to do this film, as there is no studio attached to King Spawn at the moment. It's going to be more of a mid-budget production, which is probably typical for most of Blumhouse films, which is fine. But still, we're finally getting closer to a new Spawn film. After all these years of rumors of it happening, it not happening, we're finally getting some sort of movement on that project. And it is something I've been literally wanting for since the last Spawn film. As I think the last Spawn film was more played for the PG-13 audience. And I really think New Line Cinema didn't get the character that well. I liked it a lot, but still, it probably could have been grittier like the HBO animated series, the way it was intended to be. So, hopefully, this means we're on a path to getting this film done. I just don't want to hear the words at the end of it, unreleasable, like the Toxic Avenger project. Remember that project? That we're still waiting for someone to pick up so we can see this film? But apparently no studio will pick this film up because they think it's unreleasable. If that film is unreleasable, look at Terrifier! Look at Terrifier 2! You could say Terrifier 2 could be considered unreleasable. But Damien Leone, Screambox, found a way to get this film into theaters and make a ton of money for the film's budget, which I believe was maybe a couple $1 million, and it did overperform that budget. So if anything is unreleasable, just do the rollout like Terrifier 2 did. I'm sure there's an audience for Toxic Avenger. There has to be. All the Trauma fans would go and see this film in the theaters. Seriously, there is an audience. Like I think there'll be an audience for King Spawn if it ends up being the dreaded unreleasable label. But then again, you get Jason Blum, so it's going to be releasable. One way or the other, it's going to be releasable. You can count Jason Blum to get this film out. He gets any film out, literally. Like that awful film Night Swim. That you can consider unreleasable. Seriously, that film is unreleasable in its current form. In a short film form, yes. But not a feature film form. But anyway, I really look forward to King Spawn when it gets there. So I'm looking maybe, hopefully, 2 years down the line. Fingers crossed. Moving on, A24 and Chernin Entertainment, the production company behind the Fear Street trilogy, are joining forces for an upcoming horror film called Alter. Now, this is coming from Variety. No details on this film. The film is slated to be directed by Igor Abramenko. There's no plot details to this film because it's being kept to the vest, but it has a good cast including Lily Collins, January Jones, David Krumholtz, Hudson Bailing, and Kyle MacLachlan. I really like this cast, kind of. It is an interesting cast, that's for sure, because it definitely features Kyle MacLachlan, and I'm usually going to see a film from Kyle MacLachlan if he's in it, because I am such a huge Twin Peaks fan, and the fact that he's running on a good streak right now with Fallout on Amazon, that is an interesting cast for that film, as it has some known names like January Jones and MacLachlan, with some new faces like Lily Collins and Hudson Bailing. I like the fact that it's mixing new people with established actors, which could be a good thing for this horror film. But there is hardly any plot line, except it's being described as a horror film according to the Bloody Disgusting article that follows the summer of a young boy forced to grow up faster than he ever imagined. Is this a film going to be like Summer 84? Because this has that vibe, reading this mysterious plot line. Which is, it's a good film. But I kind of like the fact that they're keeping everything mysterious. Maybe it's going to be, I think, one of the big selling points of this film. The mysteriousness of the plot of this film, like Longlegs, that's currently in theaters. That marketing campaign for this film really helped this film achieve success at the box office. I'm thinking they're probably trying to do the same thing here with Alter. And this is A24, so they've been known to release some very interesting films in the horror genre. Midsommar, Hereditary, to name a couple. So that's something I'll probably keep my eye out on. Again, I'm interested because Kyle MacLachlan's in it, so I'm going to be interested no matter what. So this might look like an interesting film. It's going to be interesting to see how A24 markets this film. As if they're not giving you a plot synopsis, then this is going to probably be like Longlegs in terms of marketing. And I'm thinking A24 is going to try that to get people into the theater. It worked for Longlegs. It's Neon's highest grossing film ever. So it'd be very interesting to see what marketing campaign they do, if any, for Alter. Because I got a feeling this is going to be one of those indie horror films that has such a bizarre marketing campaign like Longlegs had. And it worked for Longlegs. Star power aside, it worked. So that'll be interesting to see if they succeed in the way they market this film, as there's no plot details yet. Which leads me to believe this is going to be some sort of mysterious marketing campaign behind this film once its release date gets closer, as there's been no release date for this film yet. So I'm not even sure if they filmed this film yet. There's not been much details on this film, except that news story. Moving to wrestling news, as I'll get to a quick news story. According to Fightful, AEW content has been mysteriously appearing on the Max streaming service internationally. That's right! AEW content's on Max, but not here in the United States yet. I was so hoping that was the case, it was the United States, but it isn't. It's been appearing internationally as users mysteriously noticed that shows started to pop up, like Dynamite, for example, on that streaming service. Now, we don't know if AEW and WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, have a new deal in place, but if the fact that there is AEW content on Max, you've got to think that they're really close to having a deal if they don't have a deal right now. Seriously. You just don't throw up a promotions library on your streaming service if you don't have the rights for additional years to the promotion. Because AEW's contract with Warner Brothers Discovery is running out this year. And they haven't signed a new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. But the fact that past episodes of Dynamite and other AEW programming have started to appear on Max probably is a great sign that All Elite Wrestling will be re-signing with Warner Brothers Discovery. Especially with the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery recently lost the NBA. They're going to need to fill TV time. And AEW can do that. It's been popular on Wednesday nights. So I see there will be a deal happening sooner than later. As you're seeing the promotions content on Max in other countries. That's usually a precursor to a deal, everyone. If there's not a deal near or in place, then why is the content on Max? Seriously. So I'm pretty almost confident that AEW will be staying on TNT, TBS with their programming with Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. The question is, what happens to Ring of Honor? Does that end up somewhere in the Max platform? As that would be kind of cool as well, because that would be more library to add to Max. So we don't know what's going on with the whole AEW Warner Brothers Discovery thing, but there's a major positive sign with the fact that AEW content from their back catalog mysteriously appeared on Max internationally, that AEW is about ready to re-sign a new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, and that is a great thing for the wrestling business, everyone. It's a great thing when we have two very healthy wrestling promotions. Enough with the tribalism. You don't want one major wrestling promotion. Look what happened when WWE was just WWE and everybody else. WWE didn't even try to put out a product. Now they're putting out a product, finally, ever since AEW came into the scene. Because without AEW, WWE would be the exact same thing as it was 10 years ago. Dull and boring. Now there's excitement in WWE, AEW. Total Nonstop Action has excitement with their working relationship with WWE. You got AEW working with CMLL, New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's a lot of great things in the wrestling world right now. And it's just going to continue to grow. Seriously. I would like to see working relationships with other promotions. I know both WWE and AEW have bloated rosters, but it's also nice to see other wrestlers from other promotions from Japan, Mexico, make their way to the US, as it will make it a more healthier wrestling business. So I'm hoping a deal is announced very soon. Like, say, maybe in the next week or two would be nice, so I don't have to pay for All In. Because I would love to have AEW pay-per-views on Max, because I don't like paying $50. Don't get me wrong, it's worth every penny. But I like what WWE does with Peacock and put their premium live events and pay-per-views on their streaming service. So I want AEW to have the same thing. It would be more beneficial to that company. May help with attendance as well. Seriously. If they're on like a Max streaming platform, that means more eyeballs to the product. And with that, that's the news. Every day there's a family struggling with hospital bills to care for their sick child who is fighting an illness. There's a woman who is fighting breast cancer and is having trouble making ends meet while paying for their treatment. And there are burn victims that are going through treatments to heal their deep wounds. There is a charity in the horror community that helps these people. Scares That Care is an organization that helps families deal with the bills for their child. They help women get the treatment they need to fight breast cancer, and they help people who are dealing with severe burns get the help they need to heal. Scares That Care is a 100% volunteer organization and 501c3 nonprofit charity that is dedicated to helping these people in fighting real monsters. To find out more information or to donate to Scares That Care, you can go to www.scaresthatcare.org. Every donation helps Scares That Care fight real monsters. Welcome back. Now, we're getting to con season here in the New England area, so I figured it might be a very good time to go over the do's and don'ts of how to act at a con. Because every year I go to cons, I find new things that you need to do, and I find new things that literally bother me. Seriously. So, I haven't done this, I don't think, in a year or two, so maybe it's a good time to do a refresher about the do's and don'ts of going to a convention. As I'm planning on hopefully going to at least 3 conventions this year in the next couple of months. As there are a lot of conventions starting in August with Terrifier. They're going all the way up to November with Rhode Island Comic Con. So I think it really is a great time to bring this up. First, this is definitely the most important one. Make sure you bring a lot of cash with you if you're looking to meet or take pictures with celebrities. There's an old saying, cash is king. I myself don't use cash that much, but when going to a convention, I know to bring a lot of cash with me if I'm going to meet celebrities, because 99% of celebrities take cash. You'll always get that 1% that also takes credit card. And me, if they take credit card, I'm using my credit card. Definitely. Because I love to get those points on that card. But anyway, it's always a good thing to have a lot of cash on hand. Especially when trying to figure out what the prices of celebs are. And I will give you a little tip here on how you can budget this. When I usually budget for celebs and they don't have prices of them listed, I do this. I first go to the photo op page. Then I subtract at least $15 for the autograph price. Then I add $30 for the combo price to get an estimate price. It could be higher, it could be lower, but you want to have a good rough estimate of the price. Say if a guy's autograph is like $85. Usually I would go to the photo op page, find the price, says $85. I would subtract $15 because usually most times $15, $20 is what you subtract from the photo op price. And it most likely will get you in the ballpark of what you need to find out the price of the person you want to meet. Sometimes it could be a little higher, sometimes it could be a little lower. But you want a rough estimate. I'd get that rough estimate, maybe add maybe $10 more to the estimate just to be on the safe side. And you'll have your budget for that celebrity. A lot of these cons will not give you prices for the celebs. You may get some like Rhode Island Comic Con that gives you the prices right away. But most likely, most places, they don't give you the price. So usually, again, subtract $15, $20 from the photo op. Then add like maybe $30 for the combo. That's what usually it is for the celebrity. Sometimes this is like subtract $20 and that's the autograph price and that's the selfie price, no combo. So, and add maybe $10 or $20 to be on the safe side. It doesn't hurt if you have a little extra money here, as prices can fluctuate. So, it's good to have an extra $10 to $20 for the estimate price, so you don't get caught flat-footed. And if you have extra money, you could probably use it on another celeb or something else completely. So that's autographs in celebs. Another thing on celebs, photo op lines. These lines will move quickly. Go in, take your picture, say thank you, enjoy the rest of the convention, move along. That's a do. Don't sit there and take all day chatting with the celeb or having an autograph, because these lines have to move fast. So it's a quick picture to say have a good day, move on by, grab your picture, leave the photo area. It makes the photo line move a lot faster, as they have to get in every celebrity at that con each of the days. And another good tip on photo lines: on Sundays, double check the time of the photo op when you get there, because sometimes celebs will leave early, so they would have to change the celebrity's photo op time. Say they have a 2 o'clock photo op, but they have to leave at exactly 2. They may be moved to like 11 or 11:30. It's always good when you first enter the building to double check the time in which that celebrity is doing the photo op on that Sunday. Because it happened to me last year when I got my Ron Perlman photo op. Because I wanted to double check the time for the celeb, because I was going to buy the ticket in advance. As Ron Perlman was supposed to have a photo op like 30 minutes later than previously scheduled. So I get there 30 minutes beforehand, or around that time. Thankfully, I got there like 5 minutes before he was going to do the photo op. So I got my Ron Perlman photo op. So next time when you go to like a photo op on a Sunday, and if you're going to just buy it on the spot, make sure you double check the time in which the photo op is. Because things change. Schedules change. Always be aware of that whole weekend. As cancellations happen, this leads to schedule changes and everything. So always keep atop of schedule changes as well on photo ops. Make sure you keep yourself hydrated. It is one of the most important things in a con. Yes, I know things are expensive at the venue. Trust me, I know. If you have a hotel room and you really don't want to buy at the venue and pay like $3-4 for a bottle of water or something, stack your hotel room with water bottles. Bring it from home. It's a lot easier. Or buy them at like a CVS or somewhere along that area. And just go back to your hotel room and hydrate there. If you're complaining about prices. One, it's cheaper to get bottles either from home or from a drugstore or a 7-Eleven. As there'll usually be one of those things around. Especially if you're in like a major city or so. There's gotta be at least one of those things. Or a McDonald's or a Burger King. That's maybe $1 or $2 cheaper than the venue. If price is the problem and you really need to get hydrated, also go to one of those places too. They're a lot cheaper. I usually, when I go travel to conventions, is bring a lot of water from home. Because for me, it's a lot cheaper. But you might not have that luxury. You might have to buy the water, say, like a 7-Eleven or a CVS. But if you're going to complain about not buying stuff at the venue and you have a hotel room, I recommend you go to one of those places. It's $1 or $2 cheaper. Make sure you have good hygiene. Please, make sure you're taking a nice hot shower in the morning. Make sure you brush your teeth. Make sure you're wearing deodorant. As I know it gets a hot in there, it's sweaty at times. But try to have really good hygiene. Make sure your clothes are clean. The basic stuff. I know I should not be talking about this, but I have to talk about this. Because I don't think celebs want to be around smelly people, nor other con goers. So don't be that person. Make sure you have good hygiene. Please respect the venue. The venues that host these conventions have to be treated with respect. If you go around damaging stuff at the venue, you're not going to have the convention at that venue next year. That's a guarantee. So don't break anything. Don't be disruptive. Don't cause a riot. Be a good person. Make sure all your trash is thrown out. And don't give any of the staff any BS. Treat them with kindness. And you'll have your convention there next year. If everything goes well with the organizers. And how they do with the convention. If you're staying at the hotel, respect the hotel where you're staying at. That means not pulling the fire alarm in the middle of the night. That means not trashing your room like a rock star. That means not causing disruptions in the lobby, disruptions at anywhere in the hotel. Treat the guests with kindness. It you'll be with other fellow con guests as well. Because that also is a reflection on the convention itself. Especially if you're staying at the host hotel. That is definitely a reflection on the convention. If people start acting up at, say, the host hotel, it's bad for the convention. Don't do it. Please. You want to keep the convention in the same place, you gotta respect the host hotel as well as the venue. And most importantly, and this is the biggest one of them all, have a fun time. Try not to get into any drama. I know you may run into people you may not like. Just walk away. You're there to have fun. Don't let anybody ruin your fun for you. As it's a family event. If you cause trouble at the convention hall, it's a bad look for the convention, and it's definitely a bad look on you as a person. So don't do it. Just have fun, as we all con-goers are there to have fun. That's the purpose of going to these horror conventions, these pop culture conventions, is to enjoy yourself. And that's why we go to these things. Is to have fun. When I come back, I'll go into the don'ts. The things that I've seen over the years that really irks me and pisses me off to the fact that it shouldn't be done at all at these cons. But I still see people doing it, and it's not good con etiquette, in my opinion. I hate to talk about it. I hate to be that guy. But it's true, I see some stuff at cons in which should not be done. Seriously. I'll talk about that next segment.
Welcome to Dark Discussions, your place for the discussion of horror film, fiction, and all that's fantastic. A weekly podcast where the discussion is about the most recent horror and genre films. Intelligent talk on a genre that deserves intelligence. A conversation between co-hosts discussing not only the films, but also the connotation that the directors and screenwriters are trying to articulate. When you want more than a review, listen to Dark Discussions.
And speaking of perception, there's just one more scene I want to talk about, which is after Caleb discovers that Kyoto's a robot. Kyoto kind of peels off her skin, showing him what's underneath.
Now, wait a minute. I know where you're going with this, but tell me you weren't already thinking this 15 minutes earlier in the film. Exactly what he's thinking at that moment.
Which is he's a robot too.
Oh, I considered the possibility.
Right, and that's what I like, is the fact that the writers were smart enough to know that this is what the audience would be thinking.
We've all seen Blade Runner.
Right, exactly.
www.darkdiscussions.com, wherever podcasts are found.
Welcome back. Now, last segment I have the do's and what to do at a convention. As we're nearing horror convention and pop culture convention season in the New England area. But now we're getting to the don'ts. Now, this is some of the stuff that irks me. And this is some of the stuff that I really believe should be common sense when going to a convention or staying at the host hotel. Stuff like that. First, don't take all day with the celebrities. I see that once in a while and it very, very irks me. Whether it's trying to carry on a 5-minute conversation or having 10 million things to sign, that's something I really don't like, and it just holds up the line too long. Let me just go a little in depth into it. First, the thing with bringing 10 million items for one celebrity to sign. It drives me nuts. Especially when you're at a convention and the line's like 2-3 hours long. And there's like no VIP, no nothing. And you're just gonna sit there and sit there. It's okay to get a few items signed. More like 5 would be the max. That'd be fair enough. But I've seen people that bring 10, 12 items. Gotta have at least 3 8x10s. That drives me nuts. Especially with the people who are going to cons and getting these autographs for mail-ins that are not affiliated with the con. That drives me nuts. Seriously. You'll have one guy who go from one autograph company who goes to this convention and I'll have like 30 things to sign for 30 different people. It just irks me when that happens. I wish these people would try to get a private signing. If they're going to go down to the convention, get a private signing if you're going to do 30, 40 people. That would be nice. And the second thing, talking with celebs. It's okay to talk with them for a couple, 2-3 minutes. I usually try not to stay that long pending on the line. Sometimes the line can be so chaotic that forget about it. I'm just going right to quickly talk about for a minute or two, then move on, because literally you cannot be there all day, because I find it disrespectful if you're spending 5, 6, 7 minutes with a celebrity, because they've got other people to meet too, and you're holding up that line. I usually talk for maybe 2 minutes, ask maybe 1 or 2 questions about their work, and then I say have a good day. Also, if I'm taking a picture, take the picture along too. Then leave, move on to the next celeb I want to see. Don't take all day, as you got other celebrities you want to see, plus the fact that the line has to move, because it can get chaotic to the point where there'll be no more spaces in line. Then you have traffic flow problems on the convention floor. Next one, don't be a jerk, have a positive attitude. Like I said last segment, you're there to have a fun time. You're not there to cause problems or anything. You don't want to be that guy that gets thrown out of the building and not welcome back. It looks very bad for you, seriously. If you act up, be a jerk, people will look at you bad. And in some cases, if you get really bad, security will throw you out and you will not be welcomed ever again to that con. So don't be that guy. Seriously. Have a fun time. Enjoy the convention. Next one. Don't take photos of celebs in line unless you're paying for it. I've seen this in the past. You would see people in line taking pictures of celebrities. Don't do that. I find it very disgusting. It is very deplorable as well. Seriously. It feels like you're invading their privacy. You're like a member of the paparazzi. That's what it feels like. yet I see people just snapping pictures of celebrities while waiting in line to meet their celeb of their choice. And that's not cool. Seriously. Not cool at all. You look like a stalker, not a con-goer. It just is disgusting. I'm sorry. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Because I would not feel okay if someone was taking pictures of me on the other side. As that feels like an invasion of privacy, in my opinion. So don't do it. But I still see people doing it anyway, and it's just not good con etiquette. Next one, don't sit on the floor. I hate this con etiquette. Every con I go to, I see people sitting on the floor. I know there's not enough seats. I get it. But you can't sit on the floor because what if someone accidentally stomps on your foot or something like that? The person who's going to get blamed is the person who's accidentally stomped on your foot, not you sitting on the floor. It drives me nuts. If there are open seats in the panel room, sit there. It's much better and much more comfortable than just sitting on a floor. Seriously. But I still see that at cons. It just drives me nuts. Because somebody's gonna get hurt. You know? And we want everyone to be safe at the con. Don't vandalize the venue. If there's one sure thing that will get a convention canceled or blacklisted from the venue, it's con-goers destroying stuff on the floor or causing fights on the con floor. That's something that will not get a con back to that venue next year, even if it succeeds. So don't vandalize, don't act up and cause fights, and also don't act like a jerk. Those are 3 things that will get a con kicked out for next year and blacklisted, possibly from ever using that venue ever again. Next one. Respect the hotel that you're staying, especially your hotel room. One of the things that you don't do is trash the room like a rock star. Sorry, every time I get to Rockstar, I have to do that. For those who are new to the podcast, I know you've already heard it twice. It's just one of those things. I'm just saying, make sure your room is nice and clean. Make sure every piece of trash is thrown away in the basket. Make sure your bed is intact. Make sure the bathroom's also clean. Make sure to also tip the cleaning lady as you leave the hotel. But you do not, under any circumstances, trash the room, break stuff in the room, and act like an animal. The only thing that's going to happen is the hotel is going to send you a nice big bill for all the damage you cause. And you don't want a nice big bill from the hotel on top of the bill for your night stay of how many nights you're going to stay at that hotel. And if you're having a convention at that same hotel and you're staying in that same hotel, that could look badly at the convention. For those horror cons that have them in hotels. You trashing your room in the same hotel where the con is being held does not make the con look good. So don't trash your hotel room. Next one. Don't take pictures of cosplayers unless they give you permission. Like I said about taking photos of celebs in line, that looks creepy if you're not taking them without permission. If they give you permission to take a picture of them, then you can do it. If they say no, just say have a good day and move on. Don't take pictures of people who do not want their picture taken. It's called invasion of privacy, and it's creepy. You don't want to be that guy. So don't take pictures of cosplayers unless they give you permission. Next one, don't have a chat or ask for an autograph in the photo op room. Now, the photo op room has to move at a quick pace because they gotta take at least usually 60, 70 pictures sometimes in like 10 minutes or so. In whatever block time they have with the celebrity. So don't be that person that just sits there, has the picture taken, then start chatting with the celebrity or begging for an autograph. This is what you do after you take a picture with a celebrity in a photo op room. After the picture is taken, you say thank you, enjoy the rest of the convention, and move on to get your photo. Don't be that guy that holds up that line because they've got to take care of other celebrities, and these things move at a lightning fast pace. So they cannot slow down the line because they got tons of pictures to take. With that, it wraps up the do's and don'ts of what to do at a con. So I hope this was very informative because I try to make it as informative as I could be because I've been going to cons since 2012. It's been a while. So I know what to do. I figured I'd pass this along to people who may be going to a con for a first time or need a refresher of what to do at a con. This applies to every con, not the cons in the New England area. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back with What's Anthony T Watching. You can follow Anthony T's Horror and Wrestling Show on these social media providers at Anthony T's Horror and Wrestling on Facebook, Instagram, and the Slasher app. You can find Anthony T's Horror and Wrestling Show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcast providers. You can also listen to the podcast at youtube.com/@FilmIKmedia and docdiscussions.com. What's Anthony T watching this episode? Well, Anthony T is watching a film that stars two of the stars of Terrifier. As recently, Dark Sky Films released a film called Faceless After Dark. Now, this is a film that stars Jenna Cannell and Catherine Corcoran, both from Terrifier. And going into this film, I wanted to see this one because it had the two stars from Terrifier in it. So that was one of the selling points for me in getting this film. And the second point that sold me on this film was the fact that it looked like it was going to be a good slasher film. So I decided to pick this film up. Well, it's not what you expect it to be. I might be giving spoilers a little bit here, but if you're really expecting a straight up slasher film, you know, the paint by the numbers slasher film, you're going to be very disappointed here because this film does that for the first 20 minutes of this film. Then it really goes into a really different direction. And for the life of me, it works out a lot better than the direction that I thought this film was going to go in. Seriously. I like it when films sometimes will sell you on the point that it'll be going one way, then just goes and does the complete opposite. That was the case with Faceless After Dark, and I have to say I really like this film a lot. It's a more serious slasher / meta horror film, as it really has this feel of David Lynch or a David Cronenberg type feel to it if they made a slasher movie. As that's the vibe I really got with this film. And I like it when filmmakers do different things. Seriously. I don't want to see the same movie 10 million times. And Faceless After Dark is very different from your traditional slasher film. One of the reasons why I really think I enjoyed this film a lot was the fact that this film had some really good direction from Raymond Wood. I like how the fact that Raymond Wood does a great job in making sure that this film has this off-kiltered feel to it, as it has to literally balance both the slasher genre and the odd house horror subgenre and balance it out into some acid tripping horror film, as this literally felt like an acid tripping horror film with all the visuals and everything in this film. And I like the way that Wood's direction is able to keep this film moving on pace. He does a great job in the way he directs the death scenes in this film. I like how they have a good build to them. I also like the fact that he also makes sure that he does a very good job in the way he directs Jenna Cannell here, as she does an excellent job in this film as the lead character in this film, as she really does a great job in making her character so psychotic, so unhinged, as a scream queen who's spiraling down due to paranoia, due to her success. She does a great job in making sure that character stands out very well here, as most of this film really depends on her performance, and I really enjoyed the fact that Cannell does a very good job in making sure her performance is very good and keeps you engaged with the material, as this was just one acid trip throughout the entire film. The screenplay written by Wood and Jenna Cannell also was very good. I like the fact that they both did a great job really making sure that they made their lead character and her state of mind the focal point of this film, as you start to see her character spiral out of control and start killing people randomly for doing bad things. It kept me interested in the character, especially with those nightmarish images and effects that really help the psychological elements in this film. As this is one of those films where you really have to deal with a lot of the screen going haywire. And that literally represents, I think, the character's state of mind as she really just continues her descent into madness. I like how they really do a great job in focusing on her descent into madness in this film, as it's very dark and very disturbing. The death scenes were shocking. It really made it for a very interesting film, as I really thought I was going to watch this paint-by-the-numbers slasher film, you know, where you get a bunch of people killed off and have some random story. But this does not have a random story. It's a character-driven story. And it's a credit to Wood and Cannell's screenplay that this character-driven story works so well and focuses on the deranged mind of the main character throughout this film. As that screenplay and Cannell's performance in this film is what really helps this film a lot here, as it really made it a very entertaining watch. It's not for everyone. If you're going into this film reading the box art and you see the twist, please stick along. Because I know this is one of those films where a lot of people will turn this film off because it's just too chaotic, too demented, and too weird. But this meta horror, art house, slasher, Faceless After Dark is a very good film. I really recommend this film a lot, as I did not have much expectation for this film going into it, but I really have to say I like this film a lot. I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of these meta horror, art house horror films, and even slasher films, check this film out. And if you're a slasher fan, stay with this film until its end, because this actually tells a story instead of some random slasher running around killing people. Sometimes I like my slasher films to have an actual story, and Faceless After Dark has an actual story here, and an actual story that focuses on a main character and her demented state. I know I've probably given you too much about this film, but I'm kind of trying to warn you here because the box art is kind of misleading. But stay with this film. You will love this film. Trust me. I know you might not like these meta horror A24 type films, but Faceless After Dark is a very good film with a very strong performance from Jenna Cannell and great direction from Raymond Wood. 5 stars. Over on the Film Arcade Media YouTube channel at youtube.com/filmarcade media, as I recently put up another Anthony T's unboxing video where I showcase some of the new films I picked up. You can check that video out. I still have one more unboxing review to put up on the YouTube channel, which I'll get to eventually. Then I'll make some more content, as I've been sitting on it for a while, just haven't had the time to put it out on the YouTube channel. But it will be out there. If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, and other podcast providers. You can also subscribe to Film Arcade Media's YouTube channel at youtube.com/filmarcademedia. With that, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. Have a good day. Support indie wrestling. Support indie horror. This has been a Film Arcade Media production.